Don in London, hello. May 9th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour, anything you want it to be. Trying to be perfect, please others. And in the end I didn't please anybody particularly, because I was stuck in a malady so bad I couldn't get out of it on my own. And some people say we get a moment of clarity in addiction, where we realise that this cannot go on, and this cannot be beaten by my willpower. And I was very lucky. I was still just about alive, and with enough hope to say to myself, life cannot get any worse than it is right now. And no matter what I do, I cannot do it on my own. So the revelation, if you like, the actual clear point, or that point of clarity, the moment of clarity, was simply admitting I was human, and that any human is capable of anything, either to the good of life or the bad of life, or the detriment of not only themselves but people around them, including me. That I was fallible, and I didn't have enough willpower or self-will or self-obsession to stop drinking, because I was addicted physically, emotionally, and was spiritually bankrupt. That is, I couldn't see reality. I couldn't see beyond the end of my nose, and my world was turned inside out and very much inwards and fearful, and I tried to put on a brave face but failed, and ego failed me, and I had no faith about living. So I had no faith, courage or confidence to go on. And when I got to that place, I said to a medical person, please, I cannot do this on my own, I need help. That was it, the game was up, and I gave up self-will, I guess, but often I take it back again, and I find myself in the same predicament. If I don't stick to the truth, if I don't include people in what is going on for me, I exclude them, and I exclude them from the truth of me, and that makes me dishonest. So I need to share the truth of me, even warts and all, because you know what? We're all human, and we're very, very human humans when we're able to admit I need help, or we need help. And why? Because going it alone, trying to win at all costs and put myself right, or yourself right, may lead to the most obsessive behaviour in the world. And once we're in it, getting out of it and becoming human again is very, very difficult. So we all learn a day at a time. And if we give each other the opportunity, stop judging and start mending, repairing ourselves, and learning from our experiences, then we gain wisdom. And we find a bit of serenity in the day, a bit of peacefulness. We don't necessarily feel on top of the world or at the lowest. Somewhere in there is a bit of peace, understanding where we are today. And if we understand our human condition, our emotional, spiritual and physical being in the now, we have a better opportunity to make the most of what is, rather than wish it something else for the future, or looking back to the good times or the bad old times. So, you know, it's an honest appraisal of now. And that's very much the fellowship of AA's job, if you like. A fellowship there to help people understand themselves a little bit better, and get some self-help, and learn some wisdom from what other people share. So experience, strength and hope, Alcoholics Anonymous, the fellowship, helps me every day. And if I can't get to a meeting, and I didn't get to one yesterday, I had other things on my mind, I need to go today. But in the meanwhile, I did do a video, and I did share some readings which helped me get me through the day and re-examine my honesty, because I can get so dishonest in a day just by trying to be what you want me to be, rather than saying, how am I feeling, why, what can I do? And the outcome is, if I tell the truth about how I'm feeling and why and what can I do, I can get an honest answer back from the people around me. I can help you, I can't help you. I can love you just as you are, or I can't love you because you're something I don't believe exists. So that's how we go. And you know, it's a daily process. After all, we are human, and if we didn't learn, we wouldn't be perfect. We would just be imperfect. So I'm glad I'm imperfect, and I want to share a bit about the fellowship. So at every meeting I go to, there's a preamble shared to get people in the mood for listening and being a part of. So I'm just reaching for my coffee. And behind me, over my shoulder, up there, is Nelson Mandela, and South Africa has a new Prime Minister, I think, in the last 24 hours, or inaugurated. Things change, don't they? It may take hundreds of years sometimes, but things change. And I realise that on a daily basis I can change just a little bit incrementally towards being myself and knowing who I am just for today. So this preamble and the fellowship, I don't speak for the fellowship of AA, and I don't speak for people in it. Everybody is unique and authentic, goes in that way, comes out that way, but we have this one similarity, and this is what the preamble says about this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and that's it. The only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And you know, it's very easy for us to all have judgments about how people are doing with their recovery. And the worst thing in the world is when an old-timer, somebody who's been around a while in AA, starts judging people by their own standards, and they become what are known as bleeding deacons. In my day it was like this, and when I was a lad it was like that. You know, bleeding deacons are around us all the time, and mainly when we look in the mirror. So when we look in the mirror and we're not using our wisdom but using our judgment, we switch from being an old-timer with wisdom to share, to a bleeding deacon with a problem which is not really anybody else's fault. It's how we react and respond to our living. So that fellowship thing really is important. Experience, strength and hope. And so we hear the good of life and the bad of life, how people are doing with their daily recovery, and how they're making a mess of it sometimes, simply because when we break something, it doesn't glue back together quite as it was before. Sometimes it's improved, sometimes it's not improved. So we learn on a daily basis and keep on going. And I will be going to meetings today. I intend to get to 2, but in the meantime, the daily reflections for today. AA Literature, May 9th, it says walking through fear. So I think this is rather appropriate to me always. If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing, or good conscience, or whatever it is that you can see as a power greater than ourselves, and that for me is good conscience, God, whatever it is. When I'd taken the 5th step, which is to share my fearless moral inventory, I became aware that all my defects of character stemmed from my need to feel secure and loved. To use my will alone to work on them would have been trying obsessively to solve the problem. In the 6th step, I intensified the action I'd taken in the first 3 steps, meditating on the step by saying it over and over, going to meetings, following my sponsor's suggestions, reading and searching within myself. During the first 3 years of sobriety, I had a fear of entering an elevator alone. One day I decided I must walk through this fear. I asked God for God's help, entered the elevator, and there in the corner was a lady crying. She said that since her husband had died, she was deathly afraid of elevators. I forgot my fear and comforted her. This spiritual experience helped me to see how willingness was the key to working the rest of the 12 steps to recovery. God helps those who help themselves. And often with consultation with other people who are just as fearful about some things. And out of that comes, we stop brave facing it. We stop using our ego to keep people out. And as I say, I feel fearful about X, Y, or Z, or this fear, I fear not being loved. So I'm checking my time. Either it was Freud or somebody said 1 million years ago, the 3 elements that make human living worthwhile is to love, be loved, and have something useful to do. So if we fear we're not being loved, or we fear loving somebody and they're not loving us back, we put up the barrier, we put on the brave face, and we have ego. But, or if we find a bit of faith, courage and confidence to say, I'm fearful, but I have to tell you I love you. Well, I don't have to. I love you, and you don't have to love me back. Well, you might do when you get to know me. So we open up a door, and we can keep on walking along. So when I say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just truth in this one day will help me more than anything I can ever imagine.